Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Beyond the Summit presentation. I'm Blaze, and here is Vikrman. We're going to be bringing you guys a game between Neolution.TH and Neolution International. It's going to be a very, very interesting game here. It has already gone to this second game here. The first game went the way of the TIE team, and now we're going to see if Neolution International is going to be able to bounce back, or if they are going to give it away to TIE for a 2-0 shutout. So, interesting game previously. Had some Spectre action, some Gyrocopter, just really, really going at it, but yeah, had just a little bit too much presence, and Spectre couldn't do-si-do with the Gyrocopter in the end. So that was a really, really nice play, and obviously a very, very strong showing from both teams, specifically in Trezo on that Gyro. Very, very powerful. But yeah, I do have Vikram on here. How's it going, man?
It's going great. I think that's right. The Intrezo played out of his mind on Gyrocopter. He got so big, he dealt so much damage. But really, I think it goes back to the draft. Now, these are two teams that I'm sure scrimmage, very, very often. They've played each other before. We haven't actually seen them go toe-to-toe on the pro stage. At least I haven't seen them. Perhaps it's happened, but not in a major tournament. But interestingly, I do feel like Neolution.TH outdrafted Neo.Int a little bit in Game 1, because it's one thing to take a Spectre electively, and it's another thing to be kind of pushed into taking a Spectre. And I feel like Neo.Int didn't really get the lanes they wanted. They wanted a safer space for the Magnus, they maybe wanted a solo safe for the Queen of Pain, and instead they had to rotate into this lineup based around Spectre, because she was pretty much the only top-tier carry that they knew how to play that was available. And Neolution.TH jumped on that, they pounced, they made the Magnus level slowly, and they sort of set up situations where the Magnus had trouble hitting strong RPs, which compounded the issues for Neo.Int. And so even though the Spectre farmed very, very well, so nobody would say that, the Spectre was dragging the game down, just the lack of total overall strategy coming out from Neo.Int, combined with a few execution errors in terms of landing the RPs from Jan, their stand-in player on their number 3, just really spelled doom for them. And it's surprising to see two teams that probably scrim together and know each other's strategies to sort of lose or have a big disadvantage coming out of the draft stage. So it'll be interesting to see what happens actually in this game. Again, I think we'll see these heroes like Magnus, like Queen of Pain fought over. You do see the first pick Magnus. Not a lot of teams are still just locking up that first pick, but these are teams that actually really like these big play-generating team fight heroes.
Yeah, I'm a little bit less skeptical about the last game's composition here. Obviously, the biggest hindrance I had with Magnus couldn't really get off the ground. Feeding First Blood, sitting at level 1 for an extremely long time, it was kind of just the decision that they made was not to his benefit. If the Spectre was able to do a little bit more with the farm she acquired, I think that the way that Rubik played, the way that Earthshaker played, it did bode very well for them as a team once they got out of the laning phase. But as you mentioned, the laning phase was atrocious for them, and hopefully we can see a stronger start from them here. They're going to be going up against a kind of a gimmicky push lineup. Actually casted this kind of thing just a little bit earlier in the Premier League, but we saw Lone Druid and Juggernaut. The healing ward is amazing on Lone Druid's bear. Easily one of the most powerful pushing combinations, because at level 7, Lone Druid has a Demolish passive on the bear, 140% damage and continuous percent-based HP gain with that healing ward. It's very, very difficult to contest, and Magnus, although he's alright at the counter push with that shockwave, it's only does so much. He doesn't have that range of initiation without the blink, and his mana pool is going to be limited until Arcanes and Bottle are able to supplement that.
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely a scary push lineup. Now, Magnus, you feel okay going up against Jug just because you can RP him even when he's invulnerable to the Blade Fury. What you actually can't do, of course, is RP him when he's busy Omni-slashing you. But I do like the Magnus. I think it was a strong first pick, considering I think if they hadn't picked it, Neo.TH would have jumped on it. But now they sort of have to decide on the spot how they're going to have to deal with this pushing composition. And I think, Blaze, one interesting trend we're seeing with this Juggernaut pick is teams are starting to feel more and more confident in it. When we first saw this sort of Juggernaut push strategy deployed, or rather, I think in Dota 2 this first became popular in the second International, right? Is actually teams, including Na'Vi, first started really putting out that Jug healing ward-based hard push at the professional, like, high-tier level. And at that point, it was a 5th pick. And it stayed a 5th pick, like it was like, oh, JK, we're going Juggernaut. But now I think teams feel like this is such a viable strategy that they're willing to pick a Juggernaut second, even knowing that the other team knows about it. They're like, we don't care if you know that we're running this lineup. It's actually so good. It's not a gimmick anymore. It's a legitimate strategy that we can draft early and lock in.
Yeah. Most definitely legitimate, and has a lot of potential in just putting out pressure early on. The last game, in their opinion, just went a little bit too long. They did get some good push early on up against the Spectre, took tier 1s left and right, but their follow-through after the fact was a little bit limited. They got a bunch of momentum, but they had a few speed bumps here and there. So in this sense, what they're trying to do is create something more sustainable, something more effective here, and with this Rubik to back it up in a counter-initiating teamfight sense,
Lovely.
I think they have a great composition immediately on into this draft. As far as how they can round it up, there's a lot of different ways to work with it. You could pick up something like a Leshrac to go with Rubik, because the telekinesis and Split Earth is so great, and then you can kind of go for a Max Edict to just push away. You can also go for some other things like Warlock works really well with the Blade Fury, and also the Warlock Golem itself is great for pushing. I'm not sure as far as in the Asian scene if it's something that's kind of seeing as much of a resurgence as we do see in the Western one, but it's still something that can get a mention here and there.
Yeah, I have seen one of these teams run Warlock. I can't offhand remember which one. Sometimes I'll just watch games very quickly and replays, and these teams have basically the same names, so I don't remember which one of these guys runs Warlock. If we see any team run it, it's going to have to be Thailand at this point, honestly, right? Because Neo.Int have two heroes that either have to go mid or a solo lane, so they don't really have room to put that Warlock in unless they do support Warlock, which, I mean, it's just a little bit soft. I do like Neo-Thai's lineup. I love the pickup of the Rubik. One thing is that they felt very, very confident giving the Queen of Pain to Neo.Int in both games. I mentioned that both of these teams really like Queen of Pain. I think it's maybe the most picked hero of both teams in professional and semi-pro games. So the fact that Neo-Thai feels good about giving that Queen of Pain away means that they sort of think that they have something that can solve it. And I think Juggernaut Rubik is a great start. Rubik can steal all those Queen of Pain spells. I mean, he can steal the Magnus spells as well, which are quite strong. And then they also have the Juggernaut, who of course is impervious to most of Queen of Pain's damage when he's actually spinning up. So, good lineup. I do think that Neo.Int have the more classical lineup. 3 extremely strong heroes, very top tier, gives them a lot of magic damage, gives them a lot of presence, but it's a very similar lineup to the one they ran last game, so hopefully there are a lot more carries in the pool, Blaze. Last time I mentioned 7 bans were spent on carries in the last game.
SK. I haven't seen him too frequently myself, but Sand King has a lot of great potential here. One thing that I love about the Sand King and the supportive role here to coincide with the Shadow Demon is that one weakness that he generally has at levels 1 through 3 or 4, I would say, is the fact that Barrel Strike is not that great of range initiation until it hits rank 3, until it hits rank 4, but with the Shadow Demon Disruption to set things up, that's not going to be that big of a deal. You don't have to rush boots, you can still put out a lot of pressure here, and then they can follow that up with huge team fights. So, speaking of team fights, just look at their lineup here. If Shadow Poison is picked up on Shadow Demon, it means every single one of them has immense AoE magic damage potential, and I definitely think that Neolution is going to have to really try to make sure that they're not going in for those 5v5s. Lone Druid's great for that. Well, sorry.
No worries. It's just when you say Neolution, it can be a bit subtle.
Sure. So Neolution.TH has the Lone Druid, the battle cry, and his bear is very effective at pushing all by himself. But that can be an issue here and there as well. I really like the ban of the Wisp for that reason. He's like, okay, well, he wants to be alone. See, IO recently changed, but anyways, IO has been banned out, and that means that the Lone Druid can do a little bit of split push without worrying about too much retaliation, at least until the Blink Daggers come out. That's when you really have to start worrying very actively. But how do Neolution.TH round out this final team set? They have Juggernaut and Rubik, presumably on the top lane, Lone Druid down on bottom. I mean, I guess you could go aggressive try, but either way, they're looking for solos here as for the mid, and then either a jungler or a support. So, yeah, Darkseer is still in the pool.
Darkseer.
But, do you think that's going to be what they need here? One thing to mention is Sand King has huge initiation potential, even if the Darkseer is going to try to vacuum in everybody else.
I still think they should go for Darkseer. They are running out of time, actually. It's a very solid pick. Chen is good, too. I still think they could actually go Chen and still get the Darkseer.
Yeah, that wouldn't be an issue at all.
So that'll be good. I honestly think if Rubik steals something like an RP and you vac RP, or he steals something like a Queen of Pain Scream and you vac Scream, that can do a lot of damage. So I still think it would be a solid pick. Neo.Int, I wouldn't read too much into the Sand King pick. If we see this in like a European, North American game, it's like, oh my god, they picked Sand King, they must have something in their pocket. But Southeast Asian teams really love Sand King. Even Southeast Asian pub players really love Sand King. I don't know if Blaze, when you get some time, you should go on YouTube and look at some of the epicenter videos that are on the internet. They're just amazing videos of people in Malaysia, Indonesia, or what have you, just screaming epicenter and doing various amazing things. Because it is, honestly, it's a hype ability. It generates just amazing damage. These days, with things like RP, it's maybe lost a little bit of its luster, but it's still enormous damage. It's a huge slow. And in concert with Magnus, actually, they pick the Darkseer out from under them. I love this. Neo.Int are looking scary.
Oh, very, very scary.
This is the womboest of wombos, I think, that you can have.
Pretty much all they're saying is if you're not going for a super hard carry, if you're going for a Juggernaut Lone Druid who can, in their own right, carry late game very nicely, but they're not going to be focusing on their own farm, they're going to be focusing for the farm as a team as a whole, and then the International answers back with a full 5-man team fight lineup that they feel that they can just go for full team wipes over and over and over again, clean things up nicely, and really make sure they're on top. The Brewmaster, I think that's a great pick to go on through that, but either team had much reserve time left, so they kind of just had to make a decision one way or another. But Brewmaster, although he doesn't lend too much as far as push goes, he does add a lot as far as his team fight presence. A Tornado over and over on a Magnus or on a Sand King, great. And of course, the one thing I was worried about was if they had anything that could counter Jan's epicenter as far as trying to stop the channel and prevent it from being an issue. And Tornado, Boulder, both great spells to make sure that's going to happen.
Also big thing, the passive Radiance-esque effect on the Fire Panda can put the Blink, if Sand King gets Blink, on cooldown, which puts a lot more pressure on him to be able to land the epicenter off of something like his Q, his Burrow Strike, rather than actually off of a Blink Dagger. I like both of these teams. I think they've picked up great lineups. I really want to point out a couple things. First off, picking the Darkseer out from under Neo.Tai I think is very good. They sort of didn't pick it fourth, and Neo.Int made them pay for it. Of course, now they're going without a traditional carry, but I actually think their lineup has just potential to blow out Neo.ES at almost any point in the game. Now, adding the Brewmaster, who's going to be using his ultimate, does give them basically a second magic immune character, so that does deflate the aspect of the combo a little bit. But I still think if Neo.Int ever catch Neo.Tai out as a group of 5, it's going to be a slaughter. And actually Chen, because of his pushing power, sort of encourages your team to clump up a little more, so that could get them into trouble. The one other thing I want to note is that they've made a switch, which I really like based on the performance in the first game. And a team that's flexible like this is a team that I think is really, really smart and thinks about what they need to do in the game. They've moved the stand-in player Jan, who they've played with before, and he's put in great performances. They've moved him onto the support SK, and they've actually put Lei, who was playing the Earthshaker support last game, onto the Darkseer. And I really like this because the Darkseer initiations are really, really key. The Sand King, it is an execution-heavy position, but if the Darkseer does his job, the Sand King will have a much easier time. If there's a perfect vac, it's a lot easier to land that perfect Burrow Strike. And once you land that perfect Burrow Strike, it's a lot easier to land everything after that. So, given the fact that Lei had a huge game on Earthshaker with excellent levels of execution in last game, I think it's only smart to put him on the number 3, the hardest role that they have this game, and then move Jan to the Sand King where he can follow that up and do real good work. I really like this switch. I think it's smart, and I think it makes it more likely they'll actually get these combos off.
And our lanes are shipping up really, really nicely, shaping up here. Lei is going to be heading out on the Darkseer. One thing you were talking about is just the flexibility among the individuals. And yeah, if Lei is going to be running his Darkseer up on the off lane, he's going to have a lot better opportunity than what Magnus ever could in the previous game. So they definitely help themselves out a lot more, kind of throw themselves a bone with these lanes. They're in a great position. Blah to contest the Brewmaster relatively directly. Maybe runes can go one way or another depending on the supports, but in general, he'll be finding his farm here and there. And Lei will at least get some gold. Experience is a little bit harder to get on Darkseer, but as long as you Iron Shield the creep wave down, you'll get the occasional last hit. Either way, down on bottom, we do see some fun Burrow Strike action onto the bear, but it's still going to get on through its tree area. Actually has had to chew through 2 tangos just to make sure it's not going to get blocked in. The intention here is for this Spirit Bear to stack up the creeps as much as possible. You get 2 full sets of creeps together, and they're inevitably going to push. There is actually going to be a pull to the neutral, but I think in the end, it's still going to be favorable for the Lone Druid as far as his creequilibrium positioning. He's going to pull it back into this kind of position here and just trying to safely farm underneath his tower because he has to. He's up against a very, very scary tri-lane. The Shadow Demon, the Sand King, and Queen of Pain, it's very, very difficult.
I don't know about this bear, actually. I think he could be in trouble with this Queen of Pain. Oh, he doesn't have Shadow Strike. He actually took Blink first. I think with Shadow Strike they could kill this bear, and without it they can't. But unfortunately now the bear is just routing through the normal creep path, so...
Oh. Well then, that doesn't really change much of anything, I guess. I mean, right here the Centaurs are going to do enough damage. If Jan focuses down on denying the creeps, then it's going to mean that in the end, nothing is really accomplished. A couple neutrals die.
Just give it another shot.
Yeah, trying to just manipulate things, change things up here and there, but yeah, like we were kind of saying, the most he's accomplishing was he's about to pull onto the tower, but nice movement from Ninja Boogie. Using that blink, he might be able to just kind of rejoin the Lost Cousins here, reuniting the creep waves, and getting that opportunity so that they can actually get things back under control. Lei in a pretty bad spot here, waiting for the surge before the telekinesis, but he doesn't cast it yet. Lei still has that surge, will be able to, oh no, Test of Faith, high roll. Really good roll. Rank 2 Test of Faith. Great timing for upper. He's already level 3.
Yeah, really good. Yeah, that's exactly right. The really good leveling on Chen. It was having the level 2 Test of Faith just raises the maximum damage so much. It's exactly what they needed. Otherwise, Darkseer would have gotten away scot-free, frankly.
Yeah, and it was kind of unfortunate because half that Blade Fury couldn't connect because Darkseer was just slightly out of range. But if Upper at any point cast that telekinesis, Lei would have immediately followed up with the Surge. They ended up trying it at the same time, and Lei still got that Surge off, but luckily there was Upper with that level 3 to back it up and get that first blood, which of course is so essential when you're trying to really transition in well to the mid game here.
I'm glad you spotted out that first blood, Liz. I was completely mesmerized by the panda just slowly loping through the radiant jungle that I had I had no idea anything that was going on. I was just completely hypnotized by the panda. It's such a cute cosmetic. It's just difficult to deal with. Now there's a courier too. Lei in trouble again, actually.
Yeah, he's actually in a pretty bad spot here. But Blade Fury has already gone on down. Lei Surge coming up in 4 seconds here. He does have rank 2 Surge, so he's going to take the long way around, a little bit of a scenic route through the dire jungle, but he'll be coming out into a safe position in the long run here.
He didn't make the same mistake he made the first time, which was to wait too long for the Surge. Surge doesn't have that long of a cooldown. Like, when you're up against a team that only has just the one stun, you should use it early and then use it again later. It'll make you cover more ground. Against a team with 2
on
stuns.
Brewmaster. On the mid lane, they're going for the courier. He has the Surge available, but he's not going to die for it. So, in the end, not accomplishing anything on the mid lane and is just going to go for a little bit of a long walk back up top. Has Boots of Speed, has Surge. He'll be in an okay position. And I guess that was buying a little bit of time for Blah to get up that bottle, crowed on up, and get a little bit more control of the lane. Now, we do see the rune spawning down on the bottom, but it is going to be controlled and actually denied by Intreso here.
Good job by Intreso there. He's got a tough role this game. He's just the solo lane lone druid. He's not going to get, that free farm. And in fact, he has struggled to lope this panda to glory. I mean, I think he's still level 1, so he's the lowest level person on the map. Now, lone druid can catch up a little bit, but if this keeps going as badly as it has been, if he can't get these pulls, I think this might be the one. He might get this one.
Yeah, that's
but he needs these creep pulls. Otherwise, he might as well just relegate himself to the jungle, because that lone druid, it's a big part of their game plan. To push, the bear needs to be big so that the healing ward can heal it. Otherwise, the whole plan sort of comes apart.
Yeah. So
they still have the Brewmaster, but still.
Yeah, pulling back behind the tier 1 and the tier 2. This is his intention most of the game, but just kind of having to take those long roaming on paths. We do finally see Treso getting that experience, but Lei in yet another bad position. This is the one thing that Tai have so much going on for them, is every single time Lei comes up here, he's answered back with some really great Chen creeps, some follow-up ganks, and too much damage for him to deal with here. So he keeps on coming up. He has his boots. He even has hit level 5, but they still keep on managing to find those kills, and that's a really big deal.
It is a big deal. I mean, it gets them levels. It sort of lifts them up faster. And if Neo Tai just start getting levels, they'll be in really good shape. The fact that they have drafted 2 heroes who sort of don't worry nearly as much about this combo coming out from Int as they would be otherwise, in the form of the Jug and of course the Brewmaster, means that if Neo-Int can't sort of generate a lot of play early on, they could find themselves just outstripped, because again, they've gone with a no-carry lineup to increase that combo potential and to keep the Darkseer out of Neo Tai's hands. But the fact is, they can't get too behind too early, because then none of that will matter.
Yeah. Yeah, the one situation here is it's hard to call Lone Druid a carry to counteract the fact that Neo International doesn't have one, when he's actually finding effectively no farm at all. He's sitting and just getting the gold that he naturally acquires by just sitting in the game at all. He could just as well be in Fountain right here, because he's gotten not even 90 GPM. He's gotten not even 55 experience per minute. He's gotten like one wave brought to him, and that's been a lot of time that all he can really show for it is that he's been screwing over the supports. There's not been great stacking and pulling from Jan or from the Shadow Demon. Now they might get a bear kill in turn, though. It is going to be a nice movement, but the blocks come on through, some right clicks, and a quick little bit of Shadow Poison action as well. Trying to get this creepo, they get it once more, and yeah, that bear just wasting a lot of time and life, unfortunately, having to be resummoned back to full.
Resummoned, yeah. Tough situation. I think Neo-Tai have to do something about this Lone Druid sooner or later, whether it's send him to jungle or... I don't think they can just afford to leave him at level 2 forever. Like, they need him as part of the plan. They need him to push, and this Queen of Pain is getting quite good for him. It'll be interesting to see what she actually builds. What do you hypothesize?
Well, I mean, it's carry Queen of Pain, so she's going to be able to get effectively whatever she wants, but I'm kind of thinking an Orchid would be a pretty common early pickup. If you can Orchid out the Brewmaster, he's half useless. We do see Ensnare as well as Telekinesis coming out in late. They go for the Omni Slash and they burst him down. So committing also the Brewmaster, he kind of just came in to say hello, just check out the action before they push down on this tower, but it was actually yet another kill. All 3 deaths are as a result of the Darkseer. He's not really in the worse positions or anything like that. It's just so much pressure coming out from the enemy. Now we do see a big Sonic Wave, a big Scream. Huge. This is Ninja Boogie at his finest, jumping on in, getting a double kill out of this, and defending the tower as well. This was just perfect transition. Jan walking in, getting a double burrow under tower, and we just see that one thing that Neo-Tai was unable to do is respond to the fact that everybody fell off the minimap. A single TP was all they needed to clean that up nicely. Now we do see that the Dire end up claiming this tower, which I feel is a huge mistake considering 2 supports are right nearby, but either way, they at least put some kills on the board.
No, I mean, I think they needed that, and of course there is a trade-off even to that. You rotate, you get the 2 kills, that's critical, it gets you on the board, gets more experience for the Queen of Pain, but now Lone Druid is finally free to level, and I think just the simple fact that they moved so many people over means that this Lone Druid will hit level 5, which is a critical level for Lone Druid. It's when he finally gets that Entangle, and he'll be well on the way to 7, which is the other critical level in this game, because of course they are looking for that push later on, and that adds Demolish.
Yeah, easily one of the most reliant heroes on level 8, level 9. We do see KYT in a bad spot. With Magic Wand, though, he has enough mana for the spend, so I completely just revert that sentiment. He's going to be perfectly fine no matter what they throw at him. But yeah, Bear, prior to level 4, completely useless, and, well, not completely, but very, very close to it.
Do you see how cute that panda is, Blaze? I wouldn't diss on it. It's got fans. It's got a posse.
I'm sure, but you can't deny that a level 7 Lone Druid panda is still going to have so much more potential. Like, it's ridiculous how much more it can accomplish. With Entangles, with a nice Orb of Venom on it. Actually, he's running double boots right now, because, you know, it's got 4 legs. It needs to at least cover half of them, so I don't know.
And you have to put them in, like, the top left item slot, the top right, the bottom right, and the bottom left. Yeah, put them in the mid slots, doesn't do anything, Blaze. It does nothing.
Absolutely. It's just
trouble for
awkward. Yeah, on the mid lane, this is a weird position for everything to be in. He does get that Primal Split off. He's going to have to fall back with the Earth Panda at least, but first he wants to get a kill. The Fire Panda does a lot of damage here, but I'm not sure if it's enough, especially if he wants to survive. He is actually going to come right back in with almost no health left.
Got 3 seconds.
So yeah, he's going to drop down. Nice stun coming out. No Tornado, though. And now he's just going to get bursted by that Scream and that Shockwave. That really seemed like a very ambitious move as a result of that Primal Split. He could just walk away, but instead he just feeds away a kill, hoping to bring that Shadow Demon. It was close. He almost got him 40 HP left, but it just was no cigar. And one thing, I don't know if it crossed Shadow Demon's mind, but he did have smoke. He could have honestly just popped off the smoke and walked away, because pandas cannot see through it. Yes, it absolutely does.
Huh, I thought they actually changed that, but you're probably right. No, I think you can't smoke from them anymore.
Maybe I haven't seen it in a while, so maybe I'm just referencing arcade concepts. But yeah, it was something that used to be able to work there.
I think this is kind of just I don't want to call it a deficiency, but it's something that Neo-Tai fell prone to last game. They still won, but sometimes they just get a little too hype, I feel. Like, they really try to go into fights that they have no business taking. Like, a 1v3 with level 1 microbrews, like, they don't last that long. It's only 15 seconds.
Yeah. So the one thing to check out is the gold and the experience graphs kind of show very, very opposite things. As far as tower pressure and as far as the gold gone by that, Dire are definitely ahead. They've been sitting around now dropping down to about 1,500, but still a significant advantage, whereas the experience is telling the opposite story. The one or two kills that they've been able to pick up have allowed them to bounce back, and we see on hero levels that it's actually really, really well spread out. So right now we do see attempt on vacuum, not going to hit on anything right here, but we do see the Queen of Pain to back it up. Ensnare comes on out, the Wildcat Wing still channeling up that tornado, but it looks like everybody is kind of just flexing and trying to jump on in, intimidate the other out of position, but they're really, other than that, not showing off more than a couple words.
Neolution need more arcane boots. They need to feed more mana.
There we go, Burrow Strike coming on through. They want to start something off. KYT, they just bait out all these CDs, and yeah.
But again, this is all time for Entreso to build up again, and anybody who remembers his performance in last game, which wasn't that long ago, should be very afraid of leaving this guy alone for too long, because I don't think Lone Druid is quite as like a I'll blow the entire game open hero as Gyrocopter, and they haven't really drafted a lineup where he is going to blow the game open as much, but that doesn't mean you should just let him free farm. They expended quite a bit of time and energy, especially on their supports, to making sure this Lone Druid was stuck at low levels, so it behooves them to leave it now. But trouble now for him, I think he's actually okay, especially with that entangle. God, that entangle.
Yeah. Very, very powerful to just pull Ninja Boogie off the scent, and just has a lot of potential to just get on out of bad position. But I was wondering how long the cute little panda bear would be hanging on to those boots. Apparently until Entreso could farm up those Tranquils, because now he finally switched it on over. But until that point, he was really just saying, okay, I'll TP out in case of danger. But that's not always the case. A Shadow Demon, a Sand King, even a Magnus from long range. Now he has rank 4 Skewer. There's a lot of ways that they can just completely pull him out of position. Speaking of, Disruption on mid, this is going to be really bad for Chen. They commit the RP, they burn down him and a couple creeps, but Stolen, it's upper, setting it back the other direction. KYT gonna be able to pick up Yon. Now at least tower hits will, and the Magnus will be dropping as well. Omniscience coming out, and that's gonna finish off the Shadow Demon, and that's a 4-for-1 swing, because the Queen of Pain was also dropped down on bottom, just from, I believe, a really good entangle proc.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, very, very bad fight for Neo.Int. They're falling substantially behind, and like I said, the Lone Druid's getting development. Neo.TH are just adding on more to each of their heroes, and so far the combo is just, it hasn't come out at all. And part of that is the fact that it is hard to combo some of these heroes. Rubik has the response of stealing something big. Obviously, the RP steal quite consequential there. You've got multiple heroes that can sort of not fall prey to a lot of this magic damage. You've got the Jug, you got the Brew. We've talked about this before. And then, of course, they have the Hand of God, where if Chen doesn't get caught out by some of those big CCs, he can heal up quite a bit of that damage at this stage. And because his leveling is pretty good, too, he is the lowest level person on Neo.TH, but he is ahead of the supports on Neo.Int. Sort of really a lot more evened out build-ups on Neo.TH right now. All their heroes sort of in that 7 to 9 range, whereas Queen of Pain, Ninja Boogie obviously is the biggest person on the map. I don't know how close he is to Orchid, but it looks like he's pretty close. 2/3-ish? So he's in good shape. He's building up very big, and he's the biggest person on the map. But, actually, I think they'll get Brew.
Yeah, down in the mid lane, they got just a quick little bit of burst there, not able to commit anything more than just a Burrow Strike and Disruption, but they did get the epicenter damage going across, and that was enough to burn him down before the split came out. That was the big deal, because the split successful would obviously mean his survivability.
I have a quick question. So his unit actually played the I'm casting Primal Split noise. And it was a sufficiently long time before they killed him, so did he just get interrupted again? Was there another stun?
I mean, I didn't actually catch it on the mid lane, unfortunately, so that's something that you would have a better answer for than me, but in that situation, obviously, you're hearing the sound, but it's not coming on through. There's got to be an interrupt on that cast itself, so even something as small as a skewer pulling him out, I think, could disrupt the cast animation either way.
Well, that's okay.
Not a big deal.
In 2 minutes, Dota TV will tell us what happened.
Sure enough.
Or rather, Twitch chat will tell us what happened.
There you go.
Thanks in advance to the intrepid viewers of Twitch TV for telling me what I couldn't see because I'm bad at Dota.
Fair enough, fair enough. Now this pickup on Juggernaut, he's got a point booster. You thinking Ags, you thinking Scotty? Scotty, I feel, is not as good of an option in the sense on Juggernaut. Yeah.
It's Ags.
I know, but I mean, I mean, both of them are technically viable. But one thing that I gotta say about either pick is it's not as substantial if you don't have the damage to back it up. I would much rather see a Yasha prior to this and then follow it up with either one of those items. But right here, going for it outright, although point booster is very cost efficient for the gold you put into it, it just seems a little bit preemptive.
Yeah, Blaze, you could he could just go point booster into Yasha into Ags. But he could just go directly Ags. I do agree the Yasha would be great for mobility, But against a team where, I mean, this is the thing. He can blade spin through basically everything except Magnus RP. But Magnus RP is going to mess him up. So once he hits 11, that scepter, it's 9 jumps, so it's a pretty substantial length of time that he's completely invulnerable. He could honestly like kill the Magnus outright before he manages to actually land that RP. And so I think just in their general strategy of deflating the combo, the Yasha does very little for them, because you can be Yasha'd up and you can still get stunned, you can still get vacuumed, and you can have your Yasha Blade Fury, but then you're not dealing as much damage. But Omni Slash, that's the shit, right? You can't, none of that stuff will work on you when you're an Omni Slash.
Yeah, of course. It's just one of those heroes that doesn't really have to worry as much about survivability after 1 or 2 big items is picked up, because suddenly you are invulnerable for that period of time, you're dishing out the damage, and all you have to do is worry about going on the offensive there. I mean, so defensive items are great because they scale with Healing Ward, as we're seeing the benefit here, where they can actually go for a legitimate push, but they can only go for so long, especially with only 3 here. Yan going in for the Burrow Strike on Thaw, and unless they retaliate, that's going to be a quick and easy kill, but right now there's not enough follow-up. Ninja Boogie has rank 4 Blink, they get the Disruption on the Panda, but they don't have the Orchid yet, so he's going to get the Primal Split off, and so that means that he's going to be able to go on the aggressive, turning things around, but Blah is invis, waiting to bait this on out, and he has the perfect opportunity here. It is going to be a Shadow Demon to fall really quickly, but Blah is here now, trying to go for a multi-man RP, but there's the Omni Slash. Blah instead gets locked down, and KYT can walk away very, very safely. Same with Bungzel, and here comes the Epicenter. Yan doing a lot of damage, but the Hand of God going across. There's the Sonic Wave, only hitting on 1, though. Ninja Boogie will have to fall back from here. It's really Neo-Ty's fight to take. It's 100%.
Oh, yeah.
They pretty much have full control of this situation. Spitting on out, they get the Test of Phase and TPs. They're just taking no chances here. Everybody's going to get out alive. Bunglezo has his TP as well, so after the Burrow Strike comes on through, and it should with this magic wand, then he's going to be perfectly fine to just walk away and TP on out.
Nope.
He actually cancels it immediately. That was unfortunate for him because he's going to get dropped. So that is obviously now he got killed by neutral. He got killed by the Shockwave. There we go. Satyr Tormentor tormenting Neo ES International a little bit because they just throw that on out and say, yeah, no experience for you. Back of the line. You get some gold for being in assist range, but that's about it.
Dota 2 fails right there. I mean, not even like they didn't mess up, but they love those neutral kills over at sunspanandreeves.com. Oh man, a huge mistake from Brewmaster. Honestly, the Satyr Tormentor just put him out of his misery there, because that would have been a big kill, honestly. And as a consequence, they don't get it. But still, a good turnaround again, but I'm not really feeling the Neo-Int combo yet. I really feel like this Brew Jug combo are just so difficult to actually combo down that they can't find the right time, and they wait just long enough that, you know, Blah just dies.
Yeah.
Like, this is a 1, 2, and 3 Magnus, and he has Blink. Usually you say, oh, Magnus has Blink pretty fast, he must be in great shape. But it's not even that he's playing badly, it's that it's actually tough to land the right RP against this team.
Yeah, they have a lot of powerful spread, and essentially what they're looking for is an opportunity for Yan to be close in proximity, go for an epicenter on top of the RP, and that's not always going to be the easiest course of action, because the Sand King himself is rather immobile as well. He's going to be picking up a Blink relatively soon, even before Arcane Boots, I believe, so they're going to be able to do those initiations very nicely, but another limiting factor is something that happened in the 3rd pick in the draft. The Rubik selection up against the Magnus makes it so that if Mag wants to get a good RP off, he has to be also looking to make sure that the Rubik is caught within. If Rubik lets 3 or 4 individuals of his team just play around, do whatever they want, as long as he's on the outskirts, he can get that steal on the reverse polarity, and he can actually just throw it right back in their face, actually making Neo-Int pay for it more than they gain.
Yeah, and I mean, I think Neo-Ty are starting to move closer to the point where they'll feel comfortable just pushing, and the one thing, of course, is that the thing about playing against a combo-based team with huge spells is that you can just move from a slightly bad position to just losing 5 people immediately. So they're going to have to be careful, and I think these teams are both playing pretty careful. More careful than they were in Game 1, honestly. We did see a lot more weird attempted ganks from Neo-Ty, which obviously you really can't do if you're Neo-Ty in this game, because it could just be punished so heavily. But, you know, if both teams lose a fight, if Neo-Int loses a fight, there's so much pushing power that comes out from Neo-ES, from Neo-Ty, that's several towers right there, potentially. And if Neo-ES lose a fight, you know, it could be huge as well. Neo-Int will take Roche. Maybe they'll move towards something like a Refresher on Magnus. If a team loses a fight, it's going to be by a big margin, and nobody wants to do that. So that's why we sort of see this a little bit more passive play now. I think the first team to make a move will actually be Neo-Ty, because they'll think, okay, now it's time for us to push, and Neo-Int will respond to that. But as I say that, I think I might be completely wrong, because they might actually try to push up the mid, but I don't know about this, actually. I don't know how good I feel about this positioning from Neo.Int.
The big thing here you got to remember is that the Queen of Pain has that Orchid available, as well as huge range of initiation. She did actually just head up on top, so that kind of negates that sentiment a little bit. She has to join forces with them to actually have too much relevance, and she is split pushing nicely for the moment, but her big thing here is either getting the Orchid off on the Brewmaster to stop the Primal Split, or on the Rubik to prevent him from spell stealing Mag's ulti. Those are two big things that can't really let happen early on in a fight, or it could easily be the death of them. They do see KYT with that Orchid damage. He's going to be dropped immediately, but Retaliation comes out through upper with a beautiful Sonic Wave. Telekinesis, Spell Steal, throws out the Sonic Wave and cleans it up very, very effectively. Upper, really setting it up. So yeah, they did lose their core, they lost their Juggernaut, but the Queen of Pain, unfortunately, going to get dropped down as well. So
it is basically a #1 trade for a #1, because both teams are running extremely unorthodox #1.
You never think about it that way, but that's very accurate. Now, we do see Lone Druid farming up better and better, and Treso has picked up an armlet on the bear a little while back, and one cool thing he did down in the bottom lane area is actually just stack up this creep wave. So we see it here, going all the way safely back to the tier 3. Is there a better place to be just right-clicking them on down without a care in the world? And Treso's going to get 3 creep waves worth of farm here, no problem at all, and that's going to set him well on a way for his way for another big item.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Neo-Tai, whoa.
Yeah, actually Chen in a terrible spot. They channel the Epicenter going right on in. They have that blink available too, so Chen immediately evaporates. But KYT with that immunity is going to be able to just spin on through it. Now purged up. Not able to close the distance yet, but here comes that Omnislash, the Sandstorm, countering it out, and that's a huge waste for him. Good timing from the Sandstorm, no detection from the Juggernaut, and instead it's a big wasted opportunity. Ninja Boogie in a bad spot. They're going to actually try to test faith him out. And no, sorry, I called that because obviously different team. But anyways, they are going to clean it up very nicely. Queen of Pain Blink stolen by Rubik and used to actually close the distance there. KYT going for another spin, but he's actually running very low on mana cooldowns, and he isn't going to be able to compete more directly. Luckily for him, the only one still involved in this confrontation is Blah. Still has all his cooldowns available, but he is by himself.
He's invis, so he's pretty safe. He was just sort of scouting, do I have a good opportunity? No, then I won't do it, which is smart. Love the motion from Neo-Tai. I don't know if you mentioned it, but after they lifted with the Rubik, Rubik goes here, Leshrac, goodness gracious, Brewmaster goes here. So every avenue of escape for the Queen of Pain is actually covered off. So she ended up going north, and Rubik was right there. So great movement to cover off all the avenues of escape. Make sure that you trade Chen for Quab. And Jogby, I mean, he just walks away with the Blade Fury. Like, you just can't Burrow Strike him. That was huge play by Jan, though. The Sandstorm, making sure that the Omnislash didn't continue chaining. Yeah. Like, after one shot, that was very good. For high level players, though, it's kind of a second nature type thing, because it is going to completely disrupt a huge cooldown for KYT, and obviously he had very low impact on the team fight as a whole as a result. So I think that's really good for them. But one thing to mention is Neo.Int didn't commit their big Wombo Combo ultis. The Mag ult and the Darkseer wall are still both available here, and they could still go for a 5v5 contest on the mid while the split is on cooldown, because that's a pretty big CD. Now we do see actually the Sonic Wave with that Orchid damage is going to be too much for the Brew to handle, and he is going to get dropped down. He has his blinked farm, so it's not going to cripple him too much, but it's still great gold for the Queen of Pain. And now we do see down on bottom that upper is in pursuit of Blade. The tower is already dropped, but fortunately for him, the bear was phased, and therefore he does get on out, but walks right back on into an entangle, and that is going to be his demise. That is actually a really bad movement positioning, and instead it's going to be the Spirit Bear to lock him down, with actually the upper getting the last hit on that. But they got the tower, they got the kill on the Darkseer, and now they're kind of really breaking this game wide open. Yeah, I do want to say, Orchid, great pickup for the Queen of Pain. It's so good against Brewmaster, because he just can't go. When you can't go into microbrew form, it's really tough. Obviously, it was on cooldown there, but you're going to see that again and again. You're going to see the Orchid targeted on the Brewmaster to really make him irrelevant in the fight. Keep in mind, this is a hard stats Brewmaster. Like, it's pure Thunderclap, Primal Split, no ranks in Brawler, no ranks in Drunken Haze. He is relying entirely upon microbrews. And if he can't cast them, he's useless.
Epicenter coming on in, big damage with the RP going on through. They're going to obliterate them here, but Upper did steal that RP, cancels it right back on around. Blah and Jan are disabled up, and here's the Primal Split doing a lot of damage. Jan will take a fall, looking for more on the Shadow Demon, but the Tornadoes are just negating what's going on. Jan is still alive for some reason, but he will get right-clicked on down to finish things on out, but it did delay their pursuit further, and with this defensive disruption, Shadow Demon might have a shot at getting on out of here. Yeah, he is going to walk away, and although he is rather slow-paced, they don't really have too much ground to cover here with Ninja Boogie on the front lines. Pops off the Orchid, a little bit of Scream, and is just trying to deter them from really following on through for the next engage. We do see an attempt to skewer away, does get him in a weird little position, but it's enough for Ninja Boogie to get on in. Counter skewer, nice damage from upper. He probably will take a fall as a result, but it was enough to get out. No, Shockwave, holy, he didn't pursue with Shockwave because of telekinesis, but either way, Queen of Pain, Ninja Boogie, finding the blink, finding the kill. Either way, he was able to peel off to keep the Brewmaster alive, and that's something that they haven't really been able to say for most of their team fights.
Right. Great stick-to-itiveness, so to speak, from Ninja Boogie there, making sure that he finally got that kill. But honestly, the full combo comes off, and only one kill actually within the combo, which I feel like they want a little more than that. This is a good pause. Look at this.
Yeah, it's like the Eye of Sauron Shockwave here.
I'm a little concerned about this Eye of Sauron actually, Blaze. I don't know. I think this could be trouble. Yeah. Anyway, I think we have somebody restarting Dota.
Trouble for Brewmaster at the very least, one way or another.
So, yeah, I don't know. I feel like the RP didn't do maybe quite as much as they hoped there, but they do come away with a slight advantage, and this Queen of Pain is getting quite difficult to deal with. Like I was saying, I mean, when you have a Brewmaster who's gone the full stats build, I'm not saying the stats build is bad, it's good because he gets the maximum amount of HP to go into the microbrew form, but you're really relying on the fact that in every substantial team fight, you will actually have that primal split off to cast. And Orchid can really put a crimp in that. In that last fight, they actually chose to Orchid the Jug, which is why the Jug died and the Brew did not. I actually really like that. He's a little more dangerous right now. The Brew can go into microbrew form, and it's strong and all, but the Omni Slash with Aghanim's Juggernaut could have really put out a ton of damage there, and the fact that he didn't let Neo.Int take the fight on their own terms. I still feel like in a full bore 5 vs 5, you'd think they would be favored due to the combo, but they're actually not because of this canny drafting and play coming out from Neo.TH. So if they can take one person out of the fight early, that's a big advantage for them.
Yeah, it's right now all about upper. It's really his positioning, his timing with his reverse polarities, or Rubik polarities as I like to call them, is really on point across the game. He has been pristine in getting that almost every single fight, and now he has a force staff to make sure that immediately he's contesting that position directly. He jumps on in, hits a 600 movement boost, and it has no animation delay, so it is going to be very instantaneous and very painful for Int to deal with directly. So that is definitely something they have to deal with here, and in general, I think that if Rubik continues to put out the pressure he has been, that the follow-up damage that's going to be coming out from the Jug and the Druid is actually going to be that much more so for Int. But we have seen this Orchid used very nicely. It's been put on the Brewmaster most of the time, but I would love to see it drop down on the Rubik just to negate that really powerful counter initiation.
Sure. Honestly, the steals from Rubik this game deployed by Neo.TH have been a lot more impressive than the steals that were coming out from Neo.Int playing Rubik last game. And I mean, just a little disparity. The Rubik has gotten a little bit more space. He's managed to get some big steals, and it's been very useful for them indeed. Upper, actually, they're going to try to seek to get a kill here.
Omni coming on down. Omni Slash popped off onto Lei, trying to burst him down, but he has that mechanism. Still has mana available here. They kill off the healing ward, and from there, it looks like they're just going to be able to fall back and get the deny on the tower, most importantly. So a couple right clicks on him out, but no, Queen of Pain takes it. Ninja Boogie snipes it in between autos. Lei getting right clicked on down, but here's a big burrow coming out for Jan. Doesn't have Epi for 7 seconds, but it's enough for Lei to get on out. Surging on away, popped off that mech. He will survive. Jan just needs to wait this out for Blink, but the Iron Shell, the clap, is locking him in place. Burrow strike down the cliff, and he might get out, but this damage from the Lone Druid says otherwise, especially with Bungalow able to go in for that Blink attack. Now we do see actually there is a pickoff as well on the Rubik. Didn't catch that one there. What was that about?
Well, it's just Rubik was a little bit alone. Ninja Boogie's really big. He's got the Orchid. He's got tons of damage.
No, just the positioning of it. I must have missed something. Did he TP away and died to the damage over time? Is that it? Yeah, it must have been it.
Yeah.
But I don't know if my screen's bugged, but it says a 10-second cooldown on the TP, so that wouldn't be it in this case. I honestly couldn't tell you, because he's dead in his own base, but he died to the Queen of Pain. That's the only thing that I'm curious about.
No, he didn't. I don't think he died in base. Alright, Chen, Test of Faith, probably?
Well, that would put him in Fountain, though. That's the thing.
Oh, gone on the nose, Blaze.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Okay, so anyways, Rubik is dead here. Queen of Pain is somehow directly responsible, but it may be something that only those that check out the replay will get an opportunity to really understand fully. Either way,
I don't know how they didn't get the deny on the tower.
Yeah.
I'm still boggling a little bit about that.
It feels like they weren't exactly on the same page communicating between Juggernaut and the Rubik. Rubik went for a click on the tower. Juggernaut did not. It was a 2-hit deny, and in that window, Juggernaut didn't go for it. Queen of Pain found that window, and of course, did get that pick off there, which this kind of makes up for the fact that on the Tier 1 top, they didn't deny it at all up against only a siege creep. So I guess it makes it all worth it in the end. Either way, we are seeing them actually take the gold advantage. When I won't say for the first time in this game, but definitely one that they can kind of take to the bank and try to get some much larger items out of. Now, we do see a skewer out for Blah. He does have that blink coming up, and it should be enough to disengage from here, but that is still an opportunity for them. Although the epicenter was wasted from Jan, it looks like the Dire still have the opportunity to go in for the Roche. Right now, though, in pursuit of Lei, gets vacuumed back, so the Bear is still trying to get that nice entangle. Yeah, they're going to get it with Penitence, with the entangle locking him down. Big, really initiation, no boogie, jumping off a big sonic wave, but it's on KYT. He's pretty beefy, and with the Hand of God, he's going to be perfectly fine getting on out of there. Now, in pursuit, they get a big proc off on that Maelstrom and are able to just easily right-click down the Shadow Demon. Ninja Boogie in a bad spot and gets killed by the Chen alone, getting the tower kill to follow this up. They're going to take this and actually go for much more. They're going to go for big objectives, but the one thing they have to worry about is the buybacks from the Queen of Pain. Ninja Boogie is back in on it, and though he won't kill the Chen, he, of course, will be able to contest the Roche.
Yeah, if they go Roche, then they can start the fight there. I do like this slightly more conservative play of not keeping pushing. I think that could be a pretty big disaster. So I like what they're doing instead, but I think they still have to watch out for this Queen of Pain. He doesn't have the Sonic Wave, of course, but he still's got Orchid. He still has a lot of damage potential that he can put out. And I think Neo.Int are feeling the pressure. They're going to try to contest, of course.
Yeah, Bungalow in a bad spot. Jan jumping on in, but the Burrow Strike hits on nothing here, and now the Roche will be falling shortly. They do go for a nice little bit of damage, and here comes the Primal Split, bringing down Blood. Big Test of Faith roll, and his corpse just rolls on down the cliff. In the pit, the Roche is still active for the moment, but Jan popping off a Burrow Strike, just trying to stay alive, maybe snipe up an Aegis, but it's not going to work out. The wall replica comes down. He actually did snatch it, so he got the Aegis Immortal. The Dire still gets the kill, but Jan will try to Burrow Strike up to the high ground and TP on away. It looks like it's actually successful, so right out of their mouths, they were able to snipe up the Aegis, and, you know, if it works, it works. They committed the wall, that'll be back up in 80, and from there, it definitely still panned out in that sense. The team fight, not so much.
I mean, Woe Dota funny time followed by Woe Dota normal time, because he missed a crucial Burrow Strike.
Yeah.
The fact that they didn't kill that Brewmaster by not having the stun from the Burrow, huge deal, hugely problematic.
Jan,
but he does,
bad timing of skill usage there. He went in for a Burrow on only a Bear and a Druid after he had already used his Sandstorm, which is a 10-second cooldown. So popping those two off and getting hit just even slightly, once Blink's on CD, you are totally locked in, and in that sense, all he was able to accomplish was delaying it so backdoor protection could take its toll, but either way, losing his life there means I can't defend the Tier 2, no opportunity for Epicenter, and even though they get this gigantic RP onto everything, Sonic Wave comes out, they skewer them with the Scream going across, but they're still sitting at about half HP, too much healing going across from that mechanism, and so far, very, very surprisingly, it's going to be Neo.Tide not able to be dropped down. They all walk away from this. There is Entangle proc on Shadow Demon. He gets hurt pretty hard, but the Purge is more an insult then more so than an injury. Ouch. KYT jumping in with that Omni Slash will be able to throw a kill the other direction, bringing down Darkseer. And there is actually going to be the Entangle on Jan. He will drop down, even if he does get the Burrow off. Nice blink out from the Queen of Pain, but it does only help them to try to peel off Blah, who's inevitably going to drop down. No skewer, no blink. He will take a fall himself. But I gotta say, this all happened based on the fact that Sandkin got picked. If there was a rank... Oh, it's only rank 1. That's... I guess it won't be that impactful. But if it was a rank 2 Epicenter, with a Burrow Strike, with some Sandstorm, it could have actually gotten a kill in that gigantic RP, that gigantic Sonic Wave. But instead... Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
I don't think the fact that it's only level 1 matters that much. I mean... It's still 660 damage if the whole thing lands, which usually it doesn't, but it's a tremendous amount of damage even at level 1, and the fact that they didn't have the full combo, they're behind enough that it's not enough to get the perfect RP, which they did. That was the perfect RP in terms of people that it landed on. But it's not enough to have that. It's not even enough to have the Sonic Wave on top of it. You need Epicenter. You need everything else.
Jan jumping in with a nice Burrow Strike. No, Ninja Boogie doesn't have much as far as cooldowns go, but just forcing things down. But now Entangle goes onto Jan. He's going to get dropped, and they're fighting inside the wall. They're willing to commit all the way in. The stone from the Earth Panda enough to bring down Shadow Demon with the help of a couple bear right clicks, and now Ninja Boogie in a bad spot has to blink away, leaving Magnus in his own really bad spot. Nice skewer, pulling everybody in towards the fountain. That's a much more favorable position for Neo.Int, and actually it's making sure that they're distracted from the tower, which is just wailing away on a lot of the dire individuals. They're all taking a lot of damage. Lone Druid will be able to TP back, but the buyback is forced from Rubik. The death of Chen. They actually really just didn't need to be in that position.
That was some C dodo right there, but it's just... We could get this tier 3 tower, but I'm feeling just killing everybody regardless of whether we lose players doing it.
Yeah, and there's like a wall the entire time too. It's just
yeah. Neo.TH can afford to do it, of course. They're so far ahead, but I would have liked to see maybe even like more than 150 damage on that tower, like even just the bear or even just the lone druid.
Shoot, yeah. I want to go back to one thing that we were kind of discussing back and forth before so much of that action went on through, but Jan with that rank 1 Epicenter, I definitely think it still would have helped them as far as that big super wombo combo, the Magnus ulti, the skewer, everything was so good and the damage follow-up would have been great, but examining their actual health pools and seeing how much they still had to live through, with the fact that Nullfield is maxed on Rubik, a rank 1 Epi, it only does so much, and just from my perspective, kind of offhand, I couldn't see that anybody was low enough that an Epi Burrow would have done enough damage there. Just from my perspective there.
Maybe not.
Obviously, the numbers are a little bit harder to crunch on the fly, but in that position, it felt like if it was rank 2, a kill would have been net, but without it, it just wasn't sufficient. That's my perspective.
I mean, keep in mind, Chen actually did not have the mana for Hand of God. If he did, I would totally agree with you. Because he didn't, I think maybe they had a shot. But I totally get what you're saying.
Oh my gosh. Speaking of Chen's mana, did you see his items?
Well, he's got... No, it's fine, Blaze. He's got 1.5 Atoses.
Like, I don't think he has an excuse for not having mana right now, man.
Well, I think it was because he didn't have enough mana for the Hand of God, and he's like, what gives mana? Well, intelligence. And what gives intelligence? Well, you know, Staff of Wizardry, of course.
Obviously, big right clicks too. I mean,
this could be
119.
This could be an Ags and an Atos. I don't really see the point of Atos, but you know, Atos
I'm not saying he can't build out of it. It's
15 HP on this tower. What is going on here?
It's I'm not saying he can't build out of it, and actually deny coming out from Shadow Demon. Good timing there.
Good.
But I'm not saying that he can't build out of it. I'm saying when you have a Chen that has more mana than HP. I feel like you're doing it, I'm not going to just say outright wrong, but it's very different from what you normally would see.
Yeah. I mean, I think Neo.TH are going to go...
Interesting skewer. Oh my gosh, the Force Staff not sufficient. Upper in a terrible spot right here. He's being completely picked off. They commit the Sonic Wave, but the Hand of God will nullify it, so that Orchid's not enough. They even mech him out. Upper survives based on that Hand of God, and now he will be able to jump on in with the next fight, even salving and healing warding. He will be in for this next engagement. Jan jumping in for Epicenter. Just goes on to KYT. They only get a solo Epi on the Mana Chen, and still they're going to turn around with an Omni Slash, too much burst damage, even a Burrow Strike stolen. It's just not their fight to take.
It's too much healing. I mean, they're not killing the healing ward fast enough. There's the Chen Hand of God, there's the Chen Mechanism, and so even when they land part of the combo at this point, it's meaningless. I mean, Neo.TH just drafted, I think, again, honestly, they got a big advantage in the draft. Neo.Int were smart to take the Darkseer, but then Neo.TH managed to score a Rubik, which, I mean, we commented at the time, Rubik was an amazing pick. They get the Chen to heal through the damage, they get the Juggernaut and the Brewmaster to live through the damage, and I mean, it was just everything they needed, and so even when the combo happened, their part of it happened, it just... It wasn't quite enough, honestly. Add that to the fact that Rubik, who's playing Rubik in this game? Upper. He had a great game on Rubik. Much bigger game than he had in the first game. I mean, excellent play, great steals, and just, you know, just making sure that Neo.Int's plan never came together.
Yeah. And it just hasn't gotten to the stage where buybacks are going to be all that relevant back and forth. A couple have been popped off here and there, but in general, it's the only ones that have the money for it are going to be the aggressors. And in this situation, it just kind of means as long as you're going 5v5, that TY can really take it to the bank in every single one of these exchanges here. One thing to mention, you're talking about the heals coming on out. A big factor there in that last fight was the mechanics of Orchid interacting with healing. We do see a big skewer on into the base here, so it looks like Intreso will be taking a fall, but Shadow Demon's taken down with him.
Sure.
So interesting interesting back and forth, and again, the buybacks are still there. The ranks have all dropped down. It's pretty much everything but GG being called here, because all these ancient creeps, there's just no darn chance. They're still fighting it out there. They're having a little bit of fun back and forth with it, but it will still fall one way or another. They do save the Queen of Pain. They might get the Brewmaster here. They will indeed, but it's just, it's been such a long chase, such a really, really interesting interaction. Either way, what I was trying to say about that Orchid, and that last Orchid that was on the Rubik, when, I gotta say, Blah was perfect on that skewer. Blinked out the base, pulled Rubik right back on in, and 4-staff couldn't bring him out. But Orchid amplifies the damage after the effect. It takes the difference between how much health you had and how much health you have at the end of the debuff duration, and the Hand of God negates that. So you get that burst heal, that extra 300 HP to work with. That's nullifying extra 30% because of that interaction. We do see just too much. Blah. He's getting more and more big RPs, but again, they just don't have the follow-up, which is surprising because of this team fight lineup. It's really, really weird.
It's just way too late in the day for it, honestly. 2 updates. Chen does build out Ags with one of the Staff of Wizardries. He sells another Staff of Wizardry for a Bracer, and he ends up the game with 1 extra Staff of Wizardry. Also, I did catch the Rubik death on the stream, because obviously it's delayed. It was literally just Shadow Strike rank 4 ticking him as he walked slowly back to base. It just ticked him down to 0.
Yeah, because he didn't have that TP available. TP'd on the fight. It makes sense.
Exactly.
So, good call there. But I think really what sealed the deal, made sure that Ty could win this game outright, was the fact that Lone Druid had those little booties on the Panda Bear early on. It gave him the survivability and the mobility he needed to just roam on around. He had half his feet covered, and that's well enough for him to bounce back in the lane. Before that situation, he was sitting at level 1, level 2. He couldn't get out, but when you give double boots to the little panda, you are able to bounce back nicely. So good play from Intrezo. I'm joking, of course, but that was a fun little game there. And either way, that was some questionable decisions, some goofy item pickups here and there, but in the end it works out for them nicely.
Actually, I liked the Ags Jug, honestly, Blaze. They didn't need the pure damage approach. They just needed their heroes to be able to duck CC. And that's what the Omni Slash lasting a really long time helped them do again and again. It made it difficult for Neo.Int to decide, when do we unleash the combo. Do we catch Brewmaster out before we can Primal Split, at the cost of not catching the Juggernaut at all? Do we catch the Juggernaut, but then not catch any of the Brewmaster splits? Do we catch maybe both of them, but not get the Lone Druid, not get the Chen? Chen heals through our combo, and it's like we didn't do anything. They basically had to hit it on everybody at the perfect time, and they weren't quite up to that today. So 2-0. We did start extremely late, so are we moving to the next quarterfinal in like 5 minutes? Is that right?
Yeah, that's pretty much the timing that we're looking at there. So that's pretty accurate in that situation. And yeah, the Juggernaut did dodge a CC. That was pretty much the direct intention for that. He was able to survive. But I honestly don't think he was nearly as impactful as just the team as a whole, because you look at it, he has an Ultimate Orb, he has Drums, he has a Magic Wand, he has like a bunch of plus stats. He has maybe like a dozen, or sorry, like 20-some odd stats to bounce around with in addition to the Aghanims, but it just doesn't feel like it's that hardcore, even with his maxed crit. It's just, it's allowing him to survive, it's allowing him to not really worry about what's going on around him, but I don't think it was decisive compared to the fact that they were just able to actually get splits off, actually go in, and most importantly, Rubik steals. Upper ended the game at level 17 as a support Rubik. He just played this completely differently than the one that picked it up last time around. It was just a completely different example of how that hero can really make an impact. It was a great timing for the draft of what they were up against. It was a great pick there, and the way they used it, they got the null field. Holy crap, man, that mattered so much against this team. They got the null field, they got the levels, and of course they got the steals. So I gotta give my MVP to Uffer in this situation, no matter how no matter how cute the Panda Bear was. I still think Rubik really pulled it out. Either way, that is going to be
it. Was a cute panda, but you're right. Upper had a great game.
So that is going to be it. Neolution Ty is going to take down Neolution International. I think I got it right for the first time.
With 2 offensive GGs, by the way. They got the 100%
nice.
offensive
Good follow-up. Good follow-up. So that's a good statistic. Yeah, we can just throw that up there. But either way, that is going to be it for this matchup, but we're going to jump right on to the next one. As we said, we were a little bit delayed here and there, so the timing of it is perfect, where we can jump on into the next game, which is going to be Myth Trust versus MUSC. This was, again, the quarterfinals of GEST. Taking it 2-0 is going to be the tie team for Neolution, but Myth Trust versus MUSC, that is going to be a very interesting match, and I'm looking forward to it.
Big game. Two other great teams. I think it'll be close. They're two teams that have had, again, with these two teams, similar performances, could definitely go either way. MUFC obviously recently a fan favorite. They've got Winter, who casts a lot on BTS. He's an amazing caster. He's an amazing player. Great team. Myth Trust, rock solid. They've been part of the Dota scene for ages. They've always had high performance. I think it'll be a great game, honestly. I'm excited to cast it, and I think we're going up into it very, very soon, so people can definitely stick around, and it won't be too long before that gets started.
Yep, so just to conclude this on out, if you guys did enjoy the commentary, again, it's not really our best environment here. I'm like lacking a ton of sleep, and only now just kind of jumping further and further and delving into the rabbit hole that is Asian Dota, so that experience is improving while my sleep continues to drain on out. But either way, hopefully you guys enjoyed to enough of an extent that you can appreciate the commentary. And if you want to follow on Twitter, I am at BlazeCasting or /BlazeCasting, whatever you want to go with there. I do have a personal Twitch and YouTube, but I haven't used those as actively. So for right now, just the recommendation would be twitter.com/BlazeCasting. And for you, Vic?
People can find me, just Google my name, VYKROMOND. You'll find something that is probably relevant to my casting. So yeah, check me out. And of course, we're going to go up into this next game. Should be great.
Sure thing, sure thing. And good games to both teams. And thank you guys for tuning in. Hopefully you enjoyed.